The struggle begins. Her name was Mariana, a young woman with a heart full of hope, but a life full of hardship. She grew up in a small, dilapidated neighborhood, where the streets were dusty, houses cramped, and opportunities scarce. From a very young age, she learned what it meant to go without, to struggle for every small meal, to fight for dignity in a world that often seemed blind to the poor. And yet, Mariana carried within her a treasure that no hardship could steal, her unwavering faith. Every morning, before the sun had risen, Mariana would kneel beside her simple bed, clasp her hands tightly, and whisper her prayers. Her words were soft, but her heart beat with a fierce determination. She prayed for strength, for courage, for a better future. She dreamed of one day escaping the cycle of poverty and creating a life of dignity for herself, even when every person around her seemed to doubt her worth. But life had a cruel way of testing Mariana. She had married young, believing love could transform her world. Instead, she found herself trapped in a household filled with anger and derision. Her husband, bitter and harsh, seemed to find a perverse joy in belittling her dreams. "You'll never be anything in this life," he would shout, his face contorted with rage. "Why do you even bother praying? You'll never amount to anything." Mariana would shrink back in her chair, feeling the sting of his words pierce her heart. Her hands would tremble, her chest tighten, but she refused to retaliate. She had learned that anger would only lead to more suffering. Instead, she whispered silently to God, "Please give me strength, help me endure, show me the path you have prepared for me." Outside their small, crumbling home, the world seemed just as cruel. Neighbors and passers-by would snicker and mock her. "Look at Mariana," they would say. "She only prays and does nothing else." Some even taunted her, saying, "Does she think her prayers will pay for food?" Every word felt like a dagger, cutting into her self-esteem. And yet, each cruel laugh only reinforced the determination that burned quietly inside her soul. She knew that if she could endure the mockery, if she could hold on to her faith, her life could still change. The days were long and exhausting. Mariana would wake before dawn, prepare a meager breakfast of rice and beans, clean the tiny home, and try to preserve her dignity amidst constant criticism. At night, she would sit alone in the dim light, knees pulled to her chest, and pour out her heart in prayer. She cried silently, tears slipping down her cheeks as she whispered, "Lord, I trust in you. Please, guide me. Show me a way out." Her suffering was not only emotional but physical. Some days she went hungry. The meager portions she had to ration barely filled her stomach. She bore the ache silently, relying on the hope that every tear shed and every hardship endured was a step closer to a better future. One afternoon, as her husband continued to yell at her for dreaming too much, Mariana felt a spark ignite in her chest. His words, meant to diminish her, only strengthened her resolve. She whispered under her breath, "I will not let your anger define me. God, help me rise." Then came the moment that would change everything. A friend from the neighborhood told her about a job opening at a small company nearby. It was not a glamorous position, but it was an opportunity, a door that could lead to a new life. Mariana's heart leapt with cautious hope. When she told her husband, he laughed cruelly. "You'll never get it. Stop dreaming." But Mariana only smiled softly and went about applying, fueled by a quiet confidence she could not explain. The interview was nerve-wracking. Mariana's hands shook, her chest raced, and doubt whispered in her mind. But she clung to her prayers, silently repeating, "God is with me. Nothing can defeat me if you are guiding me." Against all odds, she was offered the job. For the first time in her life, Mariana felt a surge of joy and relief. This was her first step out of the cycle of poverty, her first step toward independence. Though the road ahead was still uncertain, she knew that her perseverance, coupled with faith, had begun to open doors she had only dreamed of before. Part 2. Rising from the Ashes. With her first paycheck, Mariana felt a taste of freedom. The money was modest, but it symbolized so much more: dignity, independence, and the promise of a new life. She began to see her own value, realizing she didn't need the approval of those who had laughed at her, belittled her, or tried to keep her down. Her husband continued his harsh words for a time, but Mariana no longer let them define her. She had found a quiet power inside herself, a strength born from years of suffering and unwavering faith. Each small success at her job built confidence, and with every passing day, she grew bolder, braver, and more determined. Finally, Mariana made the decision that would liberate her entirely. She knew she could not remain in a marriage that sought to crush her spirit. With courage and careful planning, she left, embracing a future where she could live with dignity and freedom. Fear accompanied her, yes, but the light of hope shone brighter than any shadow of doubt. Her life began to change in ways she had never imagined. Mariana excelled at her work, earning respect and recognition from colleagues and superiors. The woman who had once been mocked, humiliated, and dismissed now inspired others with her resilience. She became a beacon of hope for those trapped in circumstances like hers, a living testament to the power of faith and perseverance. Mariana never forgot the nights she had spent crying in the dark, praying for a better life. She knew that every tear had been a seed, every hardship a lesson, every insult a push toward her true destiny. Her faith had been tested, her spirit tried, but she had emerged stronger, wiser, and victorious. And now Mariana shared her story with other women, encouraging them to believe in themselves even when the world seems to oppose them. She taught that true wealth is not just money, it is freedom, self-respect, and the courage to follow one's heart. The once timid, sorrowful woman now walked with pride, her head held high, eyes bright with hope. She had transformed her suffering into strength, her pain into perseverance, her prayers into action. Mariana had rewritten her story, proving that even in the darkest circumstances, faith, courage, and determination can lead to triumph. And when people now spoke of her, they did not whisper cruelly. Instead, they said, "Look at Mariana, the woman who never gave up, who trusted God and changed her life." And she smiled, knowing that her journey, her faith, and her courage had not been in vain.